My name's Caleb. I was 52 when all this really began, well, give or take a few months. And if you're wondering how a guy like me ends up ghosting his own family without saying a word, let me stop you right there. It didn't happen because of one massive blow-up or dramatic moment. It was more like a slow simmer. You've probably heard that old saying, drop a frog in boiling water, it jumps right out. But if you warm the water gradually, it'll just sit there until it cooks alive. That frog? That was me. Sitting still while things heated up around me. Not for a few months, years. Decades even. The worst part? I didn't even realize how bad it had gotten until the day someone handed me a paper crown in front of everyone I cared about with King of Letdowns scrawled across it like a punchline. That was the moment the water finally boiled over. Or maybe just the moment I noticed I was already cooked. Let me take you back a bit. Jenna and I were married for 25 years. We first met in college. She was the loud one, full of opinions and energy. I was the quieter guy who could fix your busted laptop and grill a steak that made you believe in God. A few years after we graduated, our daughter Lily came along. I'll admit it, she became the center of my world, the light I orbited around. I never claimed to be the perfect dad who is, but I was always there. Every school play. Every time she caught the flu. Every move-in day when she changed colleges or apartments. I kept a steady job in IT. Never loved it, but I stuck it out. Somebody had to keep the roof over our heads. Jenna stayed home, mostly. She dipped her toes into selling essential oils, and later she ran this Facebook group about empowering women, which honestly was a lot of gossip sprinkled with Bible verses that had a certain sting to them. We had your typical suburban setup, 2 cars, a friendly golden retriever named Max, and a home that looked picture-perfect from the outside. But behind those walls, things started to erode. It didn't happen all at once. It was subtle. Jenna had this habit of cutting me off mid-sentence, like what I had to say wasn't worth the air. At first, I brushed it off. That's just her style, I told myself. Then came the little digs. If I crashed on the couch after work, she'd laugh and say something like, nice life, napping after doing the bare minimum. If I forgot to grab something from the store, it was, you had one job. Always said with that smirking, half-joking tone that made me question whether I was just being too sensitive. Then I started noticing things with Lily, too. The way her eyes would roll when I tried to give her advice. The way my suggestions in family discussions were brushed aside until someone else repeated them louder. I wasn't being abused, not in the traditional sense. But I wasn't really seen either. I was like furniture, always there, rarely noticed. So when I hit the big 5-0, I didn't expect anything fancy. Maybe dinner, maybe cake, maybe just a small moment where someone would look me in the eye and really see me. Instead, there was a surprise party at our house. The whole gang showed up, Jenna's book club, Lily's college friends, even my brother Brandon, who only makes an appearance when there's free alcohol involved. Streamers, balloons, a big Happy 5-0 banner, and a grill all set up with ribs and burgers. Apparently, I was supposed to be the one manning the grill. On my own birthday. No one asked if I wanted to. I smiled anyway because that's what I'd always done. Halfway through the party, out came the crown. Lily's idea. A goofy, Burger King-style paper crown, all glittery and cheap-looking, with thick Sharpie letters that spelled out King of Letdowns. The whole room cracked up. Jenna clapped like it was peak comedy. Brandon leaned in and said, damn, bro, that's harsh, but not wrong, right? I laughed too. A tight, forced chuckle that barely made it out past the knot in my throat. After grilling the meat, I ended up playing photographer. Dad, take a pic of us. Lily called out. One more. Make sure we're all in it. Guess how many pictures I showed up in that night? 0. When it came time to cut the cake, someone shouted, make a wish, Rick. Maybe wish for a personality. More laughter. I held the knife tighter than I meant to. But I smiled. Again. Later that night, once the house was quiet and the guests were gone, I was still cleaning up. Jenna was already on the couch with a drink, scrolling her phone like nothing happened. I asked her, hey, did you actually think the crown was funny? She didn't even glance up. Just said it was a joke. Chill out. You've been so touchy lately. That night, while she slept upstairs, I sat alone in the dark. I found myself staring at a blinking cursor on a travel site, no idea where I was headed, just knowing I had to go. I booked a one-way ticket to a little town in Oregon I'd visited once on a work trip. It was quiet there, green and peaceful, with a diner that served peach cobbler so good it stuck with me for years. I packed light, just some clothes, a few books, my laptop. And Max, yep, I took the dog. Nobody even noticed we were gone until after the fact. I left a note. Nothing dramatic. Just, I need to go. I don't think I've ever really been happy. Take care of yourselves. Caleb. I set it on the kitchen counter next to my house key. 2 weeks passed and then I saw Lily's post on Facebook. A throwback photo from her high school graduation. One of the rare times I was allowed in the picture. The caption read, "If anyone sees my dad, please tell him we're sorry. We didn't realize how much we took him for granted. We just want him to come home." The comments poured in, people expressing shock, regret, sympathy. Stuff like, "He always seemed so quiet and you never know what someone's really going through." Even Brandon chimed in with, "Miss my big bro, hope you're okay out there," which was rich coming from the guy who called me a doormat more than once at that party. I didn't reply. Not then. I wasn't ready. Because here's what no one understood, me leaving wasn't the ending. It was the beginning. The start of something they never saw coming. I wasn't vanishing. I was preparing. Sitting in that little Oregon diner, spoonful of cobbler in my mouth, watching the rain drip down the window, I finally saw things clearly for the first time in years. All those times I was ignored, brushed aside, laughed at, I wasn't going to let them slide anymore. So I picked up a pen and started writing. I wasn't just scribbling thoughts in a journal, I was writing, seriously writing. Laying it all out, what I'd done, what they'd said, what they never said but meant anyway. I kicked things off with a list. A full inventory of every time I bent myself out of shape for them. Paid off Brandon's credit cards. Got Jenna's mom into a decent nursing home. Co-signed the loan for Lily's first car. All those little moments that added up to something big. And then came the party. The paper crown. The jokes I was expected to laugh along with. The snapshots I wasn't even in. Every bit of it chipped away at me. But the thing is, I had the receipts. And I'm not speaking metaphorically. I mean actual receipts. Emails. Bank statements. Screenshots of text messages. I wasn't planning a pity parade, I was building a case. I just didn't know what for yet. That part would come later. Because just when I started to breathe again, when I finally had a rhythm going, life threw a curveball I didn't see coming. 2 weeks into my self-imposed timeout, I was just beginning to feel something like peace. My days fell into a simple, steady pattern. I'd get up early, leash up Max, and walk him through those foggy, quiet streets that smelled like wet pine. Make a pot of coffee that didn't taste like disappointment. I'd write, eat something simple, read a bit, sleep, then do it all again. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't carrying a weight on my chest. I wasn't putting on a smile to keep from rocking the boat. The silence around me wasn't heavy, it was healing. The town I landed in, Ashbrook, was the kind of place you'd miss if you blinked too long. One short strip of shops, a gas station that also sold live bait, and Annie's diner where the jukebox only played songs older than I was and the waitresses called you honey whether they liked you or not. I'd rented a tiny studio apartment right above an antique shop. The guy who owned the building, Franklin, was a retired mechanic with grease-stained hands and a heart twice the size of his wrench collection. He reminded me of the kind of father I'd always wished I had, tough but fair, no judgment. I handed him 3 months' rent in cash. He didn't ask a single question. It should have been enough. A quiet place to lie low, collect myself, maybe figure out what the second half of my life was supposed to look like. But then the email showed up. Subject line, urgent, about Dad. It was from Lily. I stared at it for hours. Literally. Just sat there, eyes locked on the screen, heart thumping like a bass drum, while Max thumped his tail against the floor like a clock counting down. Eventually, I clicked it. The first line hit like a gut punch. Please don't delete this. She told me she hadn't understood at first. That she thought the party was just light teasing, a little fun to mark the occasion. She had no idea the crown would cut that deep. She said she thought I'd laugh it off like I always did. She apologized. Not for the first time, apparently. She said she'd been calling, texting, posting everywhere. But this time she didn't try to explain anything away. No excuses. She just ended with, "You were the glue holding all of us together. And we let you fade into the background. I'm sorry, Dad. I miss you." I didn't write back. Not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much. So I archived the email, closed the laptop, and went back to writing. Because by that point, the plan was already in motion. And no, I'm not talking about some petty revenge fantasy. I wasn't out to wreck anyone's car or drain the bank accounts. I wanted something cleaner. Something undeniable. I wanted them to feel the loss. Not just in their hearts, but in their everyday lives. In their wallets. In their routines. I'd built more of that family structure than any of them realized. And now, they were about to find out what happened when I stepped away. First move? I called Elliot, our longtime financial advisor. Told him I wanted out of all the joint accounts. Told him I needed to transfer every cent of my investments into a new solo portfolio under my name only. He hesitated. Caleb? You sure about this? That's a pretty serious step. I'm sure. Does Jenna know? She will. Next stop, the mortgage company. Sure, the house was technically in both our names, but I'd been the one making the payments for 15 years. I had the bank records to prove it. I canceled the autopay. Did the same for all the utilities? Electric, water, internet, every account Jenna never bothered to log into because I handled it all. She hadn't paid a single bill since 2009. I gave it 3 days. On day 4, I powered my phone back on for the first time since I left. It practically buzzed itself off the table. 20 missed calls from Jenna. 3 voicemails. Did I listen? Nope. I blocked the number. Then came the Facebook messages. First from Brandon. Yo bro, we gotta talk. Everything's falling apart. Call me. Then from Jenna. What are you doing? This isn't funny anymore. Come home. We need to figure this out. And finally, the dramatic public post I expected from her. When someone you love chooses to walk away instead of having a conversation like an adult, it says more about them than it does about you. Cue the comments section, her church friends and MLM buddies chiming in with sad face emojis and affirmations about strength and forgiveness. But buried in the replies were a few that stuck with me. A former coworker of mine wrote, I always thought Rich deserved more. I hope he's doing what's right for him. Another one said, I saw what went down at that birthday party. That wasn't right? That post didn't last long. Jenna took it down a few hours later. But by then, the cracks were already showing. Brandon, the guy who treated me like his personal ATM, found out pretty quick that loan applications go a lot worse without a cosigner. Denied. Lily? Her car payment bounced. The joint account I'd been feeding like clockwork? Empty. I wasn't out to hurt them. I just stopped carrying what they'd come to expect me to hold without ever saying thank you. Then came the real tipping point. About 2 weeks after the party, a thick envelope arrived at my little studio, forwarded from the house I used to call home. A certified letter. From Jenna's lawyer. She filed for separation. But not just that. She was accusing me of emotional abandonment, asking for alimony, and arguing that since she'd been a stay-at-home mom, she deserved the bulk of our assets. I laughed. I mean really laughed. Out loud. Alone in that little studio. Because here's what she didn't know, what she never thought to even consider. I'd been keeping records. Not out of spite. Not to use against anyone. Just because that's how I'm wired. I keep things. I save things. I track things. Every tax return. Every check that cleared. Every tuition bill paid. Every time I crawled up on that leaky roof at her mother's place or rewired the basement because she didn't want to call a handyman. I wasn't unprepared. Far from it. I hired a lawyer. Miles? Quiet guy. Thoughtful. The kind of person who doesn't talk much, but when he does, every word lands. No theatrics. Just the facts. First meeting, I handed him a fat folder and a USB drive packed with everything. He flipped through it, whistled low. This is thorough. I shrugged. I work in IT. I back up everything. He grinned. We didn't build the case to destroy her. That wasn't the goal. We just wanted the truth to stand on its own. That I'd carry the weight. Financially, emotionally, logistically. I was the one who kept the engine running even while they laughed and rolled their eyes and made jokes at my expense. Still, even as we prepped for court, a small part of me held out hope for something more. A letter, maybe? An apology that wasn't wrapped in excuses. Something real. Something that said, I see it now. I see you now. Instead, I got a voicemail from Lily. I didn't answer the call. Let it go to voicemail, heart in my throat. Her voice trembled. Dad, things are really bad here. Mom's losing it. She tried to sell the house, but apparently she can't without your signature. Brandon moved in. They're fighting nonstop. I don't feel safe. I mean it. Please, please call me. Then, in a whisper like she was afraid someone might hear. I think I'm starting to understand why you left. I just sat there, phone in hand, staring at the wall. Max looked up at me from the rug, ears perked like he was waiting for my next move. That was the moment. The turning point. Not because someone was begging me to come home, but because for the first time someone was starting to see. To get it. And that meant it was time. Time to show them what really happens when you keep pushing someone who's been holding it all together until they finally stop. I listened to that voicemail again. Twice. Each time, Lily's words settled into a different place inside me. Her voice wasn't laced with sarcasm. Not like when she used to roll her eyes and call me extra or tell me to stop being old-fashioned. This time, her voice was low. Real. Honest in a way I hadn't heard in years. It didn't change the course. Didn't change the plan. Because I knew Jenna. She wasn't the kind to throw things and scream. She was something worse, subtle. Strategic. A master of twisting the story just enough to make you question your memory. To make you doubt yourself. You didn't even know she was gaslighting you until you were neck-deep in guilt over something that wasn't even your fault. I hadn't just walked away from a marriage. I'd escaped a maze made out of her manipulation. And now, watching the world unravel without me propping it up, it didn't feel good in a cinematic, satisfying kind of way. It felt clear. But Lily. I wanted to believe she was different. Her voicemail felt like the first breadcrumb on a path back to something real. I wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. But I did reply. For the first time since I'd left, I sent a text. I heard your message. I'm okay. I'm not ready to come back. But I'm listening. Hours went by. Nothing. Then finally, thank you. Just knowing that helps. A small step. But it was something. Meanwhile, over in Jenna's world, things were falling apart faster than I expected. Miles filed our formal motion to contest everything, her financial claims, the separation terms, the narrative she'd painted. We included pay stubs stretching back 20 years, bank statements that showed exactly who covered what. And honestly, my favorite bit. A year-by-year breakdown of the money I poured into bailing Brandon out of whatever mess he'd stumbled into. Jenna said I'd been emotionally unavailable. Miles came back with receipts, literally and figuratively. Birthday videos. Family vacation photos. Texts where I checked in. Therapy bills for Lily's counseling after that bad breakup junior year, I paid those too. Miles built our argument like a fortress. Brick by brick. And pretty soon, her version of the story started to crack under the weight of facts. I wasn't trying to take anything from her. Didn't want the house. Didn't care about some court victory or a big payout. All I wanted was for the truth to be undeniable. For someone to ask her, in front of a judge, if this man really did so little, why did you crown him the king of letdowns? The story started spreading quietly. My cousin Nina messaged me out of the blue. I always thought Jenna was a lot. We just didn't say anything. Even a couple of Lily's old teachers reached out. You were always at every meeting. Some dads don't even show up. Lily was lucky. It's funny how clear everything becomes in hindsight. Then one morning, about 6 weeks after that party, I opened my inbox and there it was. An email from Jenna. Not from her lawyer. From her. No subject line. Just a sentence in the body. I miss you. I still don't understand why you didn't just tell me how you were feeling. That line right there? That set something off deep inside me. Because I had told her. 1,000 times. In 1,000 ways. In every long sigh. In every sleepless night and half-hearted smile. In every grocery run during flu season. In standing alone in the rain changing a flat tire while she stayed cozy at home. In the dream I shelved about starting my own business because she needed cash for her essential oil empire. She just hadn't heard me. Or maybe she did. And just chose not to listen. But here's the thing. I never yelled. Never pointed fingers. Never made a scene or slammed a door. So in Jenna's world, that meant I never said anything at all. I didn't bother replying to her email. I just forwarded it to Miles. Typed a quick note. She still doesn't get it. And then, right when I thought the twists had twisted as far as they could go, Lily showed up. It was a Saturday morning, classic Oregon drizzle in the air, and I just picked up some leftover biscuits from Ennie's for Max. I spotted a rental car parked all sideways in front of the antique store. And then I saw her. She was leaning against the hood, arms crossed, hoodie pulled up, wearing that same stubborn look she had back when she was 16, and I told her she wasn't going to a concert on a school night. I froze. She looked up. Hey. Hey. Max let out a low bark and padded over, tail wagging. She crouched down and scratched behind his ears. He remembers me. He's got a better memory than most people, I said. That made her flinch. Just a bit. Then she stood. I didn't tell Mom I was coming. I just needed to see you. I didn't have the words, so I didn't try. I just nodded toward the stairs. She followed me up to the studio. We sat for a long time without speaking. I made us coffee black, no sugar. Just how I take mine. When she took the mug without asking for cream or sweetener, it made me smile. Eventually she spoke. I didn't get it before. Not really. I thought you were just being dramatic. Just leaving. She stared into the mug like it held answers. Yeah? Mom cries every day, but not because she misses you. She cries because the bills are stacking up. Because Brandon's living in the basement and won't stop drinking. Because the house is freezing and she doesn't know how to fix the thermostat. She looked up at me. She misses the benefits of you. Not you. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. She kept going. I think I was becoming her, she whispered. Joking about you. Rolling my eyes. Dismissing everything. I didn't realize how much you did, how much you meant, until you weren't there anymore. She looked around the room. Books stacked on the desk. Max asleep on the rug. A jigsaw puzzle half finished on the coffee table. It's small, she said, but it feels more like home than our house ever did. That one hit me. I leaned back, arms crossed, heart doing strange things in my chest. I didn't offer comfort. Not yet. She needed to sit in that quiet ache. It's what I'd lived in for years. Then she asked it. Are you coming back? I looked toward the window. Rain trickling down the glass like slow-moving thoughts. Took a breath. Held it. Let it go. I don't know, I said. But I'm not finished here. She didn't argue. She nodded. Stood up. At the door, she paused. I hope, someday, I earn my way back into your life. Then she left. I stood in that stillness for a long time. The next morning, I called Miles. It's time, I told him. Let's go to court. What happened next changed everything. 3 months later, I stood outside the county courthouse wearing my one halfway decent suit. Same one I wore to Lily's high school graduation. Back when I thought all the things I did, the sacrifices, the quiet loyalty mattered. My hands were steady. My breathing even. I thought I'd be nervous. But I wasn't. Not anymore. I wasn't that man who bit his tongue and swallowed his frustration anymore. I wasn't the guy who smiled through insults and carried the load in silence. I'd taken 30 years of being overlooked, dismissed, and underappreciated, and turned it into clarity. This wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. Inside the courtroom, it was quiet. Just a couple lawyers flipping through papers, a half-asleep clerk, and across the aisle, Jenna. She looked like someone auditioning for a Hallmark widow. Black dress. Eyes red-rimmed. Playing the part. She stared at me with a look I'd come to recognize, half contempt, half panic. Like she couldn't quite decide whether I was the villain who wrecked her life, or the missing wrench she suddenly needed to keep it going. Her lawyer spoke first, painted a dramatic portrait of abandonment. Said I walked out with no warning, leaving a stay-at-home mother and a wounded daughter behind. Jenna dabbed at her eyes, right on cue. I didn't react. Then Miles stood. No theatrics. Just calm, undeniable truth. He laid it all out, years of pay stubs, account transfers, loan documents. Showed how I paid for everything from Brandon's endless debt spiral to Lily's therapy and tuition. He even submitted the king of letdown's crown into evidence. No joke. Read the texts. Read the Facebook comments. And then he delivered the line that hit like a hammer. My client didn't abandon his family. He simply stepped out of a performance, where he was always the punchline, and never the lead. Jenna tried to interrupt, something about context, that it was just a joke. The judge waved her off. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. The house would be sold. Proceeds split 70-30, my favor because of my documented financial responsibility. Alimony? Denied. The judge noted her clear lack of effort to find work despite being fully capable. As for emotional abandonment? Thrown out. No proof. Just her word against 20 years of documentation. Even Brandon got served, ordered to repay $18,000 I'd covered for him over the years. I didn't expect to see a dime. That wasn't the point. The point was the record. To finally have something in black and white that said, you weren't imagining it. What you gave mattered. You mattered. After the hearing, as I was heading out, Jenna caught up to me in the courthouse hallway. This isn't fair, she hissed, voice trembling. You made me look like some kind of monster. I looked her in the eyes. Really looked. For the first time in years. You didn't need my help with that, I said. She jerked back, like the words physically hit her. Then she turned and walked away without saying another word. A week later, I signed the last of the paperwork. Officially removed my name from the house. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Around that same time, I wired Lily enough money to pay off the rest of her car loan. But this time, I set a boundary. From here on out, you're responsible for the payments. She didn't argue. Just said, okay. No guilt. No drama. Just acceptance. We kept in touch after that. Not every day. Not even that often. But she started calling. Not to ask for favors. Not to vent about her mother or Brandon. She called just to talk. Tell me about her job. Her day. Her thoughts. Once, she even asked me for advice. Caught me off guard so much, I had to blink back a tear. I stayed in Ashbrook. Still wake up early. Still walk Max through the misty streets. Still grab my cup of burnt diner coffee like it's holy water. And I read now. Really read. All those books I used to stack up for later when life finally slowed down. I picked up a part-time gig fixing busted electronics at a repair shop down the road. Old radios, VHS players, ancient laptops that hadn't booted since Bush was in office. It doesn't pay much. Doesn't need to. What matters most is, it doesn't cost me. One evening, Lily showed up again. Brought a container of peach cobbler from Ennie's. She sat with me on the porch, legs swinging off the edge like she was 10 again. She looked out at the quiet street and said, "Real soft. You're not who I thought you were." I turned to her, eyebrows raised. "You're more," she said. "I just didn't see it until you stopped letting us walk all over you." I nodded slowly. "I wasn't mad when I left," I told her. "I was just done." She smiled, eyes wet in the corners. "I'm glad you were, because now I get to actually know you." The sun slipped behind the hills, casting long, stretched shadows across the street below. She asked, "You think you'll ever move back?" I looked out toward the trees, the soft glow of the diner sign down the block, let out a slow breath, smiled. "I'm already home, because here's what I learned. Home isn't a place where people expect you to show up and play a role. It's where you finally get to just be yourself." And for the first time in 50 years, I finally was.